Hello YouTube! So today's vid isn't a happy one, but it's one that needs to be said. Everyone knows that no game lasts forever, and sadly, I believe that Valorant is slowly declining. In today's video, we're going to assess why that's happening and what Riot can do to fix things. First off, let's look at the stats. On Google Trends, you can see that Valorant is at an all-time low in terms of search results for the year 2022. Starting September of this year, it's been going lower and lower. Now, Google Trends might not be the most accurate depiction of the situation, but you can also look at the Twitch numbers, which have also dropped by almost 50%. Again, this might have been because of Twitch just not doing as well, or maybe because Overwatch 2 just released. But as I talk to more and more people, it seems that the general feeling around the game isn't too great at the moment, with a lot of content creators and players even saying that it's gotten stale and boring. This has led to a lot of players moving away from the game. Again, this is all just speculation, and only Riot knows what the actual population numbers are. However, what I'm about to tell you is even more shocking, and they're the 3 reasons why I think Valorant will and is currently dying. The first reason why I think players are losing interest in Valorant is a lack of variety in gameplay. Valorant does one thing and it does it very well. The main focus of this game is a competitive tactical shooter, and while there's nothing wrong with that, the other modes don't really offer too much in terms of gameplay diversity. This is a problem because players don't want to just play the same thing over and over and over again, and Valorant doesn't have anything to spice up the gameplay a bit. I guess that's also why the infinite ability games do so well on YouTube, mainly because it's such a different environment compared to what usual Valorant is like. I mean, unrated and ranked are basically the same mode, and Spike Rush, Escalation, and Replication do get a bit boring after a while in my opinion. The release of seasonal or new modes are few and far between, with the last one being Replication, which was released in May of last year. Compare this to other games, which at least have some sort of game mode or event every few months, and Valorant does look a bit stale. Side note, but for Halloween, we didn't even get a new mode or anything like that, but instead we got a new skin bundle, which doesn't really change much in terms of gameplay. I mean, can you imagine a world where Valorant had a zombie mode or some sort of themed event for Halloween, and then you could put a timer on it, just like how Apex does with their limited time modes, and you'd have a bunch of people returning to the game and feeling refreshed about the different style of gameplay. This leads me to my second point, which is the lack of content. While Valorant's population might be doing okay right now, the content side of things is very dry, with tons of content creators even citing burnout and just not enjoying the game in general. Maybe it's because they play the game so much more than others, but I also think it's because of my first point, where the game hasn't really been doing anything different in the past year or so. There's just not a lot of room to be creative with Valorant. If you look at Minecraft or even CSGO, people come up with new and weird ideas all the time, but that's just not possible with Valorant. Sure, there are new agents and maps, but you only get a map a handful of times, and the new agents are hit or miss. For example, when Fade came out, that completely changed my outlook on Valorant and made me enjoy the game so much more. Other players might not have that same experience with Fade, and that's completely understandable, so they won't feel the same way. That said, the shininess or the newness of an agent or map only lasts for so long before people start to lose interest again. I think the content side of things is really important for any game, and I'm not trying to be biased when I say this because I do think there's a win-win situation when both the game and content creators do well, but at the moment there's just nothing interesting for people to latch onto. The third reason that's driving people away from the game is the smurfing and cheating situation. Personally, I don't think this is that big of a deal, but when I get comments about it all the time, I'm inclined to think otherwise. I have never experienced a cheater in my games, and the times I have encountered smurfs aren't often enough that I will complain about them. That said, the amounts of complaints seem to have risen over the past few months, and so I'm including this here because this is a valid issue, and my experience doesn't really dictate what the rest of you guys are experiencing. So, now the question becomes, how does Riot actually fix this? For me, the answer is simple, but I'm also not a developer at Riot, so I don't know how feasible my idea is. The goal would be to create a working custom games browser and allow players the freedom to tweak maps, settings, and maybe even create their own maps. This not only solves the diversity of gameplay issue, but also gives players the room to experiment and create whatever they want to. I mean, can you imagine a Raze main that makes a custom satchel map for other Raze mains to practice on, or maybe have some satchel racing map? Or you can even look at something simpler like custom retake servers for the more competitive crowd. You can create certain situations to practice on, or even come up with new and unique goofy custom games with friends. If it wasn't obvious enough, I do take a lot of inspiration with this idea from Halo, but if you look at any long-lasting game, you'll see that community creation and community projects are what keeps the game alive, because developers might not have the time to create these things. I mean, just look at Minecraft, for example, which has a bunch of custom modes that even after the initial content has dried out, creators and players are still able to find something to do in that game. This might not be possible for Valorant, which puts a lot of emphasis on competitive integrity, and allowing custom maps might open the game to more cheaters, but there's really just not much going on right now, even after the release of Harbor, which was supposed to be a big thing. Side note, but personally, I'm finding it really hard to find ways to make Valorant interesting, or to find unique twists to at least diversify from the regular gameplay that everyone is so used to. And if this keeps going on, I feel like I might be forced to move away from Valorant, which I don't want to do, by the way. But yeah, it is what it is. And this is just me voicing my frustrations with the current state of Valorant and why I think the player base is slowly losing interest. Anyway, if you guys have any suggestions on how to spice up the Valorant gameplay, or do anything like that, I'd love to hear them down below. Thanks for watching, and if you guys want to see more of this commentary type vid, you know, I used to do this a lot back in the day, yeah, let me know down below. And yeah, take care, homies. See ya.